Just imagine that you live in a world where your government can tell you what you can and you can't do with things that you buy. For example, a vehicle or a home or your property. And unfortunately here in the US, that's the case. But we have some good news here. The Chevron deference has been completely abolished. What does that mean for us? This is quite possibly the biggest news that I've ever had to share on the channel, and I'm so excited. Guys, definitely hit the like button for me so we can share this information across the entire platform. But this is the biggest question. Now that the Chevron deference has been overruled, does that mean that we can now jump into the aftermarket game and finally delete and tune our diesel trucks, or even gas vehicles for that matter? This video is for you, EPA. Let's go ahead and get started.
Walk us through the potential ramifications here.
Well, they could be significant for a number of agencies, Katie, including financial regulators like the Securities and Exchange Commission and climate and environmental regulators like the EPA. In the court now overturning this today essentially takes that power away from the regulators. So think about things that the EPA has put out, for example, including auto emissions standards, for example. That could potentially be challenged.
But this is a pretty big deal, basically giving the ruling back to the people instead of these three-letter agents like the ATF, the EPA, the list goes on. But let's just dive right into this. The U.S. Supreme Court's ruling as of last Friday, which would be the Loper Bright Enterprise versus Raimondo, dealt a severe blow to the ability of federal agencies to do their jobs by ending the 40-year-old precedent of the Chevron deference. Instead of deferring to the expertise of the agencies on how to interpret ambiguous language in laws pertaining to their work, federal judges now have the power to decide what a law means for themselves. As a result, despite not being accountable to the people, judges will now be able to expand their role into the realm of policy making. So basically what that means is the Chevron doctrine, or the Chevron deference, which was overturned, does not allow those agencies, those federal agencies, to make up their own laws. And not only that, enacted on us. But bear with me, I know this is going to get kind of involved, but it makes a lot of sense once you watch till the very end. But I gotta hash out these details. So the Supreme Court in a 6-3 vote killed a legal precedent that conservatives had attacked for decades, known as the Chevron deference. The deference set in 1984 in the case involving the oil giant gave federal agencies wide powers to interpret laws and decide the best way to apply them. In ending the deference, the conservative majority court has slashed and severely weakened the powers of agencies including the Environmental Protection Agency, or the EPA. And this idea was that if Congress passes a law where something is unclear or there's a gap, it is up to the agencies to fill in the gap. And in practice, that gives arms of the federal government, such as the EPA, the freedom to create and implement rules without fear of proactive legal battles. So let me just throw an example. So for example, a tuning company makes a emission compliance tune for example, my 2018 L5P Duramax here that can not only burn cleaner than the factory puts out, but give you better miles per gallon and improve the overall longevity of this engine. The EPA and their experts that don't agree with that will basically say that that's illegal and that I can't do that. And since they made this a law that you can't modify diesel engines from its factory specifications, it is now illegal and you will face severe consequences and fines from the federal government if caught. But you see, that's their interpretation. And I'm going to send a special shout out to Corey Willis. Most of you guys know about him. He has fought the good fight, and he just keeps hitting a brick wall, and we appreciate everything he's doing. But now that the Chevron deference has been closed, or overturned should I say, completely abolished, I think that we should reopen this because this is pretty exciting. You just never know where this can go now that the courts have to say so and not the federal agencies. But again, I think it's up to us, we the people, to fight that good fight. But let me continue. But who wins in throwing this out? This is a big win for conservatives. For 4 decades, they have been working to overturn this by giving executive agencies more freedom to implement laws. In the conservative view, it vastly expands the power of federal bureaucracy. But in areas like workplace safety, financial markets, and environment, or even businesses contemplating legal challenges to regulations had to yield to agencies' interpretation of laws. But looking into the future, corporations and others wanting to challenge agency rules will be heading to court, and we can expect to see judges around the country now weighing in on what the federal government and its bureaucracy does. Rules and requirements and penalties could all be stopped before they are implemented or overturned. The strictest standards that we have in our country coming from any state when it comes to emissions is definitely going to be California. And I'm reading a ton of stuff online about how this will affect California. And when I think about that state in particular, they are kind of the flagship for our entire country when it comes to rules that may be implemented in other states. Now, don't get me wrong here. I'm not complaining about clean air. I think clean air is so important. As a matter of fact, I think it's a great thing that we have regulations saying that you can't just go out into your backyard and burn 30 tires and black smoke the entire neighborhood. I don't think that's right. We are one of the strongest countries in this world, and I am so proud to be an American. I just think that it's unfair that these federal agencies can make up these laws that don't allow me to do certain things to my vehicles. I mean, it's just metal and rubber and plastic. I think it's a little ridiculous, and it's their way of saving the planet. But if you've seen the hype and the rise in electric car sales, especially being pushed from the Biden administration because they want to continue to push their Green New Deal. Now, this is actually kind of interesting, and you've probably heard about this already. As of March 29th, 2024, the EPA enacted a new law. It passed right through Congress, basically stating that as of 2027 to 2032, the emissions that come out of a diesel vehicle, so like your trucks, your buses, your semis, your rigs, those vehicles made between those years have to run 60% more efficient. And really, what does that mean? That means that they're forcing everybody to buy electric. That's not new news, but they're going to seriously put this into policy as of 2027. But what does that mean now that they've overturned the Chevron deference? So essentially, it's up to the courts whether or not they're going to abolish that rule or not. I guess what I'm trying to say is we can now fight some of these laws and possibly get them overturned. Are these current laws still in place? Yes, they are. But the fact that we can fight back, I think, is a huge win for us. I don't think that it's fair that unelected people that work at agencies can make up laws. I just don't think that that's right. And I'm sure most of you guys can agree with me. Now, here's another doozy that just happened a day before the fireworks, July 3rd, 2024. GM was fined nearly $146 million for excess emissions from 5.9 million vehicles. You may be driving one of these. The Environmental Protection Agency found certain 2012 to 2018 model year GM vehicles were emitting more than 10% higher carbon dioxide on average than first claimed in the company's compliance reports, the EPA stated. The impacted vehicles include about 4.6 million full-size pickup trucks and sport utility vehicles and roughly 1.3 million mid-size SUVs, such as the Chevy Equinox, Tahoe, and Silverado models. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I think GM just paid them off just to get them off their back so they don't have to go to court and deal with all that. But here's another question. What about those in the past that have been fined millions, hundreds of thousands of dollars by the EPA? What happens to them? Are those folks that got taken able to seek retribution? Is that possible? Let me throw another thing at you that just happened in the state that I live, here in the state of Michigan. So this happened as of February 29th, 2024. 3 charged in emissions delete case. And this was made public knowledge, so if I mention any names of the business, it's just another hardworking American company just trying to make a living and them being attacked by the EPA. And just like any common folk like myself, I don't think it's fair that the EPA is just going around harassing either individuals or small companies, mechanic shops, because they're doing certain things that they think are illegal. But check this out. So 3 charged in emissions delete case. The final company and the last few individuals charged in this case related to deleting emissions controls on trucks have been sentenced. This was announced February 23rd that truck shop Diesel Freak and several individuals were sentenced for violating the Clean Air Act by engaging in an aftermarket scheme to disable the emissions control system of semi-trucks. The U.S. District Court judge confirmed the felony convictions of Diesel Freak LLC of Gaylord, Michigan, and ordered the business to pay a fine of $750,000 and serve a term of probation. It was the largest fine imposed over the course of the case, in which the court ordered more than $1.8 million in fines. And just bear with me here, I'm going to kind of go on the beaten rabbit trail, but for example, Corey Willis, which was fined millions of dollars for tuning vehicles, which by the way, he tuned the Beast, which is an LMM Duramax, it's a Cadillac that basically transports the president around, or even all of the deleted vehicles in the military that I drove when I was in the military. The government knows that if you remove the DPF, the DEF, the catalytic converter, these diesel engines will run cleaner, they'll run better, again, they'll give you better miles per gallon. The engines will last a whole lot longer than 300,000 miles. Now, as of 2035, if I'm not mistaken, after the last that I've read here, the Democrats want to completely go electric. I think it's kind of interesting when you see our politicians going to, GM, Ford, or Dodge, making videos of them driving their newest electric car and trying to force you to buy them.
Mr. President!
This sucker's quick.
How's it feel?
Ready?
Mr. President, can I ask you a quick question on Israel before you drive away?
No, you
since
can't.
It's so important?
Not unless you get in front of the car as I step on it. I'm only teasing.
It It's almost like these politicians are saying, hey, look, GM, Ford, Dodge, give me a percentage. I'll promote you, I'll push you, I'll push electric. But then again, Tesla, they're never in the equation. I guess they just don't want to play ball. But after scanning through the entire docket, and I'm not talking everything, I was just kind of scanning through it. It's 114 pages. If you're really bored and you want to read it, go for it. But this is called the Loper Bright Enterprise versus Raimondo, Secretary of Commerce. And this is everything that they came to the conclusion of at the very end. But kind of scanning through this, even if you go to like page 32, it says it gives courts the power to make all manner of scientific and technical judgments. And it also gives courts the power to make all manner of policy calls. Isn't that interesting, the fact that it now gives the courts, which it should always be that, the elected officials. And it goes all the way back to a video that I made, which, by the way, I think it hit over 500,000 views. A guy from Virginia put his Dodge Cummins on Facebook Marketplace and advertised it as a deleted Cummins. The EPA caught on to that, and what happened to him? They basically forced this guy to either put everything back to stock or they would revoke his VIN number so he can never register the vehicle. So if he decided to sell it, that VIN number would be void. Now this guy did not want to play ball with the EPA, so he decided to rip out all of the parts from that Dodge, you know, the Cummins, probably the rear end, anything that he can sell, and he scrapped the rest of the truck. But that goes all the way down to you, the individual. I think this is a huge win for us. Now this is where it gets really important. If a Democrat gets elected in this coming election in November, what's going to happen to the Chevron deference? Again, I know it's gone, but can they appeal it? Can they bring it back? But it goes all the way back to the beginning. Can we now delete our diesel trucks? Can we now modify these things? Is the door wide open? The answer to that question is still a no, but the fact that we can now fight it. And let's be honest, now that the EPA is under fire, do you think they're going to go after the individual?
I don't think so.
Am I encouraging everybody to go out there and just completely do a mass tune and delete on their diesel trucks? No, I'm not doing that at all. Use your discretion, but just wait it out. I think you're going to see some big changes, and I can't believe it took 40 years to do this. This is pretty exciting. This is a huge kick in the face to the federal agencies. I know I kept harping on the EPA, but I do not want to leave out the ATF because their policies are pretty uneducated as well, and I can see a lot coming down the pipeline with our Second Amendment brothers. But what I think is funny is this completely crushed the electric vehicle market, because now them trying to push us completely to electric is going to be something that we can absolutely fight. And also the RPM Act that we were trying to fight, I think that if we were to reopen that, I think we'll see a big difference there. But I guess only time will tell. Hey, hit that subscribe button if you guys want to be updated on more news on this matter, because I will definitely be making other videos on that. But in the meantime, I'm going to continue to plug away at these builds. It's always a great opportunity to share the knowledge and the journey with you guys. So subscribe to the channel, and as always, hit that like button on your way out. I want this information to be shared across the YouTube platform. I want everybody to be aware of this, and let me know in the comments whether you agree or disagree with the Chevron deference. I want to know your opinion as well. But as far as I'm concerned, it's looking really good for the aftermarket automotive community as a whole, and of course the diesel community. We'll see you on the next one. Stay tuned. What do we have here? This truck is for sale. I just saw it on the side of the road. It's a dually square body, Scottsdale. This actually doesn't look too bad. It looks pretty solid. Man, look at this thing. 1984. I wonder how much money he wants for it. I might need to call this guy. Let's look at it. Looks like a lot of work though, I don't know. I wonder what kind of engine's in this thing. What's the frame look like? Actually doesn't look too bad. The box is still there, that's surprising. This would be a pretty cool candidate for a Cummins swap though, for real. This is cool. Oh, we got some info. 4750. Got a rebuilt 400 trans. Small block 350. Interior doesn't look too bad either. Look at that. I don't know, guys. Let me know. Should I buy this? This would be a good candidate for a Cummins swap. That's what I'm thinking. Man, even the bumper's still there. Good old IFS. All right, we are headed to the scrapyard. We got a trailer hooked up to the old trusty, and we're gonna see how much we weigh. I'm curious, and I wonder how much money we're actually gonna get back from all this scrap. We'll go ahead and clip to that scene next here. We just went on the scale. We weighed 11,020 pounds. And here we are. We're gonna go ahead and get all this junk off the trailer and see how much we actually had on the trailer. It's probably not much. I think we're about 1,200 pounds back there. But I don't know, having a little fun with the scrap truck. Oh, look at that. I could stay there forever and have a blast with these. this exact truck that was supposed to go to this probably very same scrapyard is here running and driving, pulling a trailer to bring scrap to the scrapyard. That's pretty cool. This is the old bed from the Rust Max. We're gonna go ahead and scrap that as well. But I'm gonna have a, maybe I'm gonna get one of these tractors to come and unload all that. But yeah, here we are, guys. Let's go ahead and see how much weight we're gonna shed from this load here. So here we have it. We have the check for $214. We had exactly 2,680 pounds. I thought it was way less than that. So I'd say that's a win. I would actually pay someone to remove all that stuff from my yard, but awesome. All right, let's keep moving. So we are on the highway, chugging along. Not bad. Not bad for an old scrap truck. That is it. We'll see you on the next video. Thanks.